for a minute about those Tea Party demonstrations that went on during the time that Barack Obama was running for president.
Is the Tea Party racist? Their stated ethos is taking the country back. Who are they taking it back from? The black man who's running the country. The fear that a black person or black people are taking control and the system of white supremacy is ending. It is not. We are still under the system of white supremacy, even though there's a black man at the top of the rung there.
You know, think about the images that were utilized at some of those rallies that included Sarah Palin speaking in what many people thought was a very encoded language that actually also impugned Barack Obama, not because of his bad policies from their perspective, but because he was a person of African descent very specifically. You know, when the N-word is utilized there, the depiction as a witch doctor, or being able to actually denigrate him by drawing that line between in his heritage back to the continent of Africa, of course, his father being from Kenya. All those issues are still utilized in that very demeaning and dehumanizing way. First, someone had dehumanized the fact that looking more black and these images were less than human. Again, you can trace that back to slavery very easily. But then being able to apply those in more modern day terms, but still invoking something that people are not necessarily really investigating within themselves. We're not having that conversation very broadly. As you know, in many ways, our images are also very powerful in giving us access or not, in many cases. At one point, of course, that was almost purely driven by the color of one's skin, the texture of one's hair, and then, of course, even the features on one's face. So as we look at things like broader noses versus thinner noses, if we think of curlier hair versus straighter hair, if we think about, again, the obvious issue of skin color, all those play a role very well in these issues of culture in our society and even cultural supremacy. So the issue then becomes, what is it that we want in our society? Well, there's a bigger question there. The question is not only what we want, but how do we get it? What's the gateway to achieving it? And in essence, what's the price that has to be paid? In this case, we've all been indoctrinated throughout our entire history in this country. Through television, through mass media, through our education system. All those things dictate all kinds of interesting concerns as it applies to us. The value of whether we can be successful. You know, you look for certain features. And of course, if those features are dictated by those who are making the decisions, then what you're going to have is an idiosyncrasy that's going to be something that reveals someone more like themselves, however they see themselves. So that also includes those physical features, hair texture, color, skin, facial features, and everything else that is a part of that. We end up finding that oftentimes that cultural supremacy carries the day. It's not just stuff to talk about that in sociological terms. But it's also important to talk about that in terms of its real impact on people. And of course, as we know our sad and sorry history of race in this country, how that then applies to people of color based on their origin, based on their race, based on their ethnicity, and so forth.